righty. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. And yes, we're broadcasting live from Phoenix, Arizona. How's everybody doing? How's your weekend been going so far? Good to see you, She Warrior, Cyber Warrior, Melissa Wildcard, Jill Moser, my guy Mark, Sensei. What's going on with you?
We do not train to be merciful here. Mercy is for the weak. Here, on the street, in competition.
Yes, Sensei. Good to see you, Mark. Miss Dog Lover, how you doing? Very exciting weekend. I'm deep cleaning the ice machine. That sounds amazing. Julia, what is going on with you? How you been?
Excellent.
Marvelous, marvelous. Takes time, Mark. Takes time. You'll get there. Sensei's asking, Sleuth, will you have to do any leg sweeping? I sprained my back. I can just about stand up. We can always just practice kata, some Tai Chi. Or maybe play with that little drum that you spin in your hand. Melissa says, was supposed to go to Six Flags, meet friends there, but didn't work because my man needs money. He has to get to work Monday and Tuesday. Got to play hard, but also you got to work hard. Let's see. Got a message from Renee. Renee, I just got your email. Not sure why you're blocked. Will you send me your YouTube information? Send me the link to your YouTube channel. That way I can click on it and then unblock you. That's the quickest way to do it. Excellent. Yep. That's your job, Melissa. Be mad. Yes, I do have one of those drums. That's funny. Classic. So some of the true crime stuff that I've been looking at this morning, of course, was the two Karen Reed jurors. There might be more now, but they came forward. I put together a little compilation video. I was going to put it out on YouTube, but it kind of seemed in bad taste. But since we're just kind of hanging out, I'll play it for you guys. I decided not to put the video out. Actually, I didn't even finish making it. I was just like, this is ridiculous. But we'll watch whatever I was able to come up with, at least so we can hear the jurors talking about it. And then also the news about Susan Morphew and Barry Morphew and his rearrest. We're going to do a deep dive later tonight. But we can talk about that as well. Okay, there it is. Dun, dun. Not sure how that happened. All right, you should be good now. I'm talking to the person who just emailed me. You should be good to go now. I don't know what happened. I don't know if that was me or a moderator. I'm not sure what happened. Mark says been hiking all weekend. Nice. Yep, I'm going to do some yard work right now. I was going to work out, but then I realized doing yard work is enough of a workout. And then I was going to go live while I was doing the yard. And I figured that'd be annoying as hell, you guys hearing all that loudness. So I'm checking in with you guys, and then I'll go do the front yard. She Warrior, here in southern Indiana, we're under a heat advisory till Tuesday afternoon. Well, it's about 110 today here, so thanks, Mark. Yep, if you can, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button. What's up, Mustang? Been very hot here in London. Thank goodness for my air conditioning. I have a unit in my living room. Yeah, the one that I have in the garage. It's good, but I mean, you can't really do anything if you don't have insulation. So I might need to insulate the garage door. Yeah, we have centralized air. And then I have a portable AC unit in the garage. It makes it tolerable in here. So it's probably about maybe 85 degrees in here. Anywhere between 80 and 85. But if it wasn't 110 degrees out, typically I could keep it, around 75 in here. $98. Yeah, but it's probably all humid as well. That sucks. Well, I'm about to spend the entire day in the heat. All right, so let's watch this ridiculous video that I made on Karen Reed. Well, it's not finished, but let's listen to two of the jury members that came forward, and then we'll talk about it briefly. Julie, I was in Havasu last week. It was 115. It was brutal. Yeah, welcome to my world. Welcome to Arizona, by the way. Did you go to the lake or what? Or did you go check out Page or Hoover Dam? Mustang, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Were you acting out? Not quite sure what the hell happened with that. All right, so let's take a listen to. This was a video I made. I was going to do a live stream titled Karen Reed, The Fallout. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm over it. But before I was over it, I was in the middle of making this. Julia, yep, the lake, the falls, all the works. Bachelor party, so lots of lounging around, day drinking. Ooh, that's my favorite. Getting too old for that shit now, but yeah, I used to love doing that shit. Waking up and just start drinking, hanging out at the pool, and then you're asleep by 6. Uh-oh. Mark says, dang, Mustang, you're getting blocked everywhere. Uh-oh, what's going on, Mustang? You're showing a pattern. Must have missed something. All right, let's watch this video. This is a little edited compilation chop up of the two jury members that came forward.
All of you stupid, fat, fucking white privileged motherfuckers keep costing me money, and you do whatever the fuck you want!
Justice system has let us down at every turn, and yesterday was the final letdown.
So I think for the jurors, there's a mix of some people think that she was definitely innocent, and the other people, there was a lot of reasonable doubt, at least to where we didn't want to convict her.
It was a very intense week. We are at first, for me, I thought Karen Reed was actually maybe guilty of manslaughter in the beginning, but as the weeks passed by, I just realized there was too many holes that we couldn't fill, and there's nothing that put her on the scene, in our opinion, besides just drop John O'Keefe off. And the tail light, the injuries in his arm didn't make much sense that come from the tail light.
Tired of this, Grandpa!
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think that she was innocent. It's hard to tell exactly what people think deep down. There was a lot of things thrown at us, evidence. So it's hard to tell.
The last witness, Arca, from the defense, that made clear, they did a very good job, like showing us, explaining all the technicality.
You see, they fell for all the hokey poke. That's the shit that drives me crazy. They build a jury of the most manipulative, easily manipulable. What's the word for that? Manipulative-able people that they can find. They're looking for the most moldable jury. We need to stop doing that. We need a jury of experts. We need a jury of high IQ people, professional people, who can prove that even if there is bias, they won't hide it. They can just simply ignore it. And it takes a real professional to do it. A normal citizen like this, they're just going to hide their bias. They're going to look around and they're going to kind of do what psychopaths do their entire life. They're going to kind of just fit in. They're going to keep everything to themselves. And they talk about not taking straw polls. You don't need to take straw polls. Everybody knows what everybody else, which side they're taking, especially during the deliberation phases. By the questions I'm asking and by the direction and by the things that I'm saying, everybody will know how I feel about whether guilty or not guilty. I don't need to take a straw poll. You know, by the arguments that I'm making, the topics that I'm bringing up, the questions that I'm asking, whether or not I think that she's guilty or not guilty. We don't need to take a straw poll.
I'm sorry, of everything, and we couldn't prove there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
It doesn't necessarily mean that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to John. Really, I was only presented a limited scope of what happened at the night, and I could only base my opinion off of the evidence that was shown in the courtroom. So I don't really know if there was a cover-up or not. I know that's the big conspiracy about it, but I don't really know. All I know is that there was a lot of holes in the investigation. Whether they were deliberate holes or not deliberate holes, it's kind of hard from me sitting back to know that, what actually happened.
Are you convinced she wasn't responsible for his death?
I am convinced. I'm 100% convinced. Yes, I really don't think she was responsible for his death. I think she dropped him off. If she back up fast enough to maybe touch him,
She might have backed up. It's obvious that she reversed. She might have hit him and knocked him out of his shoes, but you know, we listened to the Arca guy and the marks on his arm. They just didn't match up and too many holes, so we got to let her go.
maybe, but that was not the reason why he fell his back in a way that the way the cut was, the injury was.
See, so now we have just regular people acting like experts. Like we do that all day long, right? We can sit here and act like experts all we want, but we need actual experts on a jury. We don't need people in the middle of being part of a jury saying, oh, well, now I can determine what's what. This cut, this doesn't match with that. Everything's been explained perfectly by the defense experts. So it's all clear to me. They're not even looking for the manipulation. They're not even aware of it. They're not prepared for it. They're just victims of it.
And the fracture was, I don't think that was from the car, because otherwise we would see much more injuries over his body.
See, she's just been convinced. Karen Reed is a classic case of having the right attorneys. They did it so beautifully. And you can see the failures of Richard Allen's attorneys by looking at the contrast and the success here in Karen Reed's case. They successfully mobilized social media, by picking the right candidates. They tried to do that with Richard Allen. Remember when they had the groundswell and there was like 5 people that showed up? It was crazy. But in contrast, you have the Karen Reed with a huge mob, and they were all wearing pink, and the defense linked up with social media content creators and helped create these huge platforms to create a bias. Now, when you listen, I'm going to play this video and you're going to hear the jury member. He's going to say, yeah, like I saw all those people out there in pink and they put a ton of pressure on me. So do you guys see the importance of that? I refer to it as the West Memphis 3 effect and what HBO did. And to me, it's satanic. And it might even be the same reason why Karen Reed and her whole crew, you think they're putting I love you in the air, but really what they're doing is something completely different.
So what do you think happened to him?
I think some of them bought that argument. It's just hard to tell, though, because whether or not we think that there was malicious intent, we were only presented with the facts that they didn't go into the house. So, there's an example of reasonable doubt. So, like, there's other examples of reasonable doubt. So, even if you want to completely buy into the theory or not, that wasn't what we were tasked with. We were tasked with finding, convicting, or deciding this person's fate based on the proof and the evidence that the Commonwealth was able to present. And there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
It's a theory, like conspiracy theory type of thing, because I think she maybe back up and touch him somehow. Maybe he lost.
So this jury right here drives me crazy because she's saying, I do believe she backed up and hit him. So she concedes to that, that's the part that blows my mind. You can just see how the defense team basically put their fingers into her brain and basically inserted a virus, a manipulative virus. And that's all she's doing is parroting that. It's crazy. It's scary as hell.
Lost his shoes in this movement and got upset, and then she left and she didn't saw him. And so either he got out of her way or something, and maybe he lost his shoes in this process, but he...
Did you hear what she said? She said that she believes that Karen Reed backed into John. John jumped out of the way, jumped out of his shoes, left his shoes there. She didn't hit him, and then she left. And then he went inside and left his shoes out there. The person who just let this person off the hook is saying this on live television.
In my opinion, he definitely went inside and something happened inside the house.
Well, one thing that I think that compels me is we did a lot of review of the tapes, and it seemed to me that the videos.
Let's go to Cryptic says Karen Reed had such great lawyers. Absolutely. Fantastic. They did everything. They mobilized and they treated this like a war. They went to war. They went to war with John's friends and family, went to war with the police department, and then mobilized social media like it was North Korea or some shit. It was incredible. But it was sad at the same time to watch in real time the West Memphis 3 effect play out. You know, it's like black magic, really, when you really look at it. The way that you can just manipulate in real time and distort people's perception. It's quite the scene, really. Quite the scene to observe.
That we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't just have been red.
Okay, now this seems to be the consensus among jury members, and I can't find this photo. So if anybody has this photo that he's referring to, he's saying they have evidence, video evidence, that they all agreed on shows that her taillight was intact after she supposedly hit him. So they all agreed, well, hey, the taillight wasn't busted. So I want to see this photograph, and I want to see how they verified the timestamp on it.
So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's not, it doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red. I don't believe that the SUV collided with John O'Keefe.
Paula, you were getting emotional. What was going through your heart and mind after making that, tremendous decision?
Yeah, so.
Okay, so it's the one on the flatbed. I have that. So why does he say the light? He said the light was shining through red. At least I think I have that photo. Here, I'll just pull it up here. Oh, here it is. The thing is, you can barely see it, though. See if I can find a better one. So I think this is the one they're referring to right here. Like you can't even tell. Like it looks broken. So I really hope this isn't the photo that they're referring to. Because first of all, you can't even see the top of the light. Let's see. I want to take a second to bring focus to the still image of the video played today in court from the Reed family's home, showing Karen Reed's SUV at the time of pickup to be en route to the police station in comparison to when it was removed by the forensic scientist in the Sally port. Like this is a side view. You can't tell. And you can see the different colors right here. So I really hope this isn't the photograph that they're referring to. If the jury looked at this and said, well, it's intact, therefore she didn't hit him, and then when they dropped it off at Sallyport, they busted it out. I really hope this is not the photograph that they're talking about.
I was happy for Karen Reed and her family. Of course, I think justice was served, but see John Lucky's family leaving the courthouse was melt my heart. I'm a mother, and I saw her pain through all those
That's
days.
true, Brandon. I don't.
And I mean, I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if there's any chance she's guilty of something, of hurt him somehow. The Commonwealth and the investigators didn't do their jobs to prove that to us. So we couldn't charge her with anything.
We didn't do an initial straw poll. The judge recommended to us in the courtroom that is not a good way to do it.
Yeah, you don't need to do a straw poll. Everybody knows what you're thinking. By the questions you're asking, by the arguments you're making, everybody's going to know exactly what your stance is. There's no need to do a straw poll.
What we did is we broke down each charge, and we went from
Georgia
top
girl?
to bottom.
Thank
and
you,
discussed
Mustang.
everything thoroughly, and did our best to do right by the Karen Reed and the Commonwealth. But that's what we're there to deliberate.
Do you notice they said to do the best by Karen Reed and the Commonwealth? Doesn't mention John. Nobody cares about John. It's the state versus Karen. They've already forgotten about John. He's the victim. He's the reason that we're all here. He's dead now. But that's not the case. It's like two football teams. It's the prosecution and the defense. John's not even there anymore. That's how great Karen's defense team was, that they were able to create that. Cryptex, the CW case was not solid in my opinion. They had two chances to prove their case and they could not. CW? Oops. Oh, I screwed that up.
Months of us sitting there, them throwing all this information at us absorbing the information, going home, thinking about it, reviewing it in our heads, and we get to the deliberations, and now we have an opportunity to discuss. Some people went into the deliberations and they were still unsure after two months, and that makes sense because there was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of information. How much can you weigh one thing or another thing over, And
I really, really hope there is a way for the case to be reopened and they can investigate again and find who actually did that to John.
The sad thing about it is they will never reopen this case. This case is done. That's it. Everybody knows what happened. We don't know why it happened. We don't know if it was done out of spite, but we know what happened. So there's no going back on this case unless there's new evidence, or if Karen Reed just comes out and says, hey, look, I did this. Thanks, Mark.
Was it emotional at the end?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Was because I was sad for the family, because I feel like great for Karen Reed, but horrible for the family. He seemed to be a very nice guy, the story with his nephews and niece, and was alive. So I feel bad for them, and I really want them to get justice for John O'Keefe for real.
Was it a poor investigation?
In my opinion, yes.
See, when she talks about the investigation, notice how her everything changes. She's like on Karen Reed's side. I'm on the defense side. So whenever they ask about the prosecution, she like gets this weird tone of voice.
Too many flaws, too many holes that we couldn't fill in. No reports, so many things, videos with glitch. I don't know, felt a little not correct, not precise.
Yeah.
Wow. Great job, Karen Reed's defense team. Amazing job. Literally created like minions.
There were a few jurors that think that had thought that initially when they went into the deliberations, that was their standpoint, and that's what we were there to do, to talk through all that and bring up every single piece of evidence. Is there an angle of reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Are you 100%, or are you 99.9%? If you're that 99%, we can't convict you. It's hard to tell from my position. You'd have to ask them about it. But in my opinion, I think it was just due to the poor investigation. There's just too many holes.
Okay, so that's what you have, right? When you have a shitty investigation and an amazing defense team with a great strategy that's just working out well for them, it's implemented correctly, versus the state's investigation. If you take away this badass defense team, the strength of the prosecution's narrative increases, right? It didn't become weak until you had this defense team step in and trample all over it. So what they did was they came in and they changed the perception in real time. They distorted it. This is a shitty investigation. They're not doing a good job. It's not clear cut. When really it was. When really in all actuality, it was a great, strong case. But when you have parts of it that are weak, you're not up to date on your technology, you don't have good cameras, that's exploited by this great defense team. So when they exploit the few flaws that an investigation has, it makes them seem so drastic, right? The gaslighting of it all. And then implementing their game plan, it turns an okay investigation into a shit show. So kudos to them. And that's how cases are won, and that's how guilty people are set free.
And it's hard to prove that the collision happened. So if there's reasonable doubt that happened, or that there may have been foul play,
I mean, they are police officers. They know what to do in investigation, and with too many pieces were missing.
Well, you said you were first thinking manslaughter in the beginning. What changed your mind to not guilty?
The process, as they show us that things don't connect to each other, the injuries don't connect with the taillight, the glitch on the video.
See, so for her, it was like, yeah, this looks like manslaughter. But then as the defense team started sinking in their claws, she mentions the ARCA, which was a joke. Anybody that was really looking. And she mentions basically all the tactics that were put forth by the defense team and how she fell for them all. That's all we're hearing. Like, yeah, I fell for all of the tactics from the defense. They changed my mind. I am convinced.
Of the sale port, the missing part of the video of the ring light in John O'Keefe's house was too many coincidences to be, straight her fault.
So the first trial, the jurors were deadlocked. They couldn't come up with a decision. Were you surprised that they brought this case again for a second time?
What's up,
they
Karen?
prosecuted her for a second time?
No, not surprised because I have a law background from Brazil. I study law. I worked a little bit as an attorney before I moved here, so I understand a little bit the system. I'm not surprised she was charged again.
If there's room for that, then it's hard to come to a guilty verdict. So that actually is kind of interesting. So the envelope, it was sealed and it's locked away. It'll never be looked at. But on everything on that initial slip was the same as the slip that was presented. The pulling the back was for the OUI charge. There was we in our deliberations we had decided there was enough evidence and proof that she was driving under the influence. And for her lawyer specifically, I think they all did. I think that all the lawyers on both sides did a really good job. They presented their case as well.
Yeah, I agree, Brandon. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, the things that she's saying, oh, well, I think that she hit him, but it didn't kill him. I think that she could have hit him, knocked him out of his shoes, but she's not the one that killed him because of the abrasion or the injury to the back of his head. It doesn't match. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And we definitely didn't want to hang this jury. We were very positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can because we don't want to. The amount of money spent in this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow jurors upset too.
Do you think she was framed?
Hard to say. I didn't have a chance to look into the investigation outside the courtroom and everything that was said in the last trial. It's less than 24 hours since I started looking into those things. So I can't say she was framed, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you find it strange you didn't hear from the lead investigator, Michael Proctor?
No, I didn't find it strange not hear from him, but I found strange not hear from Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, because the owner for the house and the person who exchanged text messages with Karen Reed a few days before. Don't okay with that?
Do I think it was a corrupt police investigation? I don't know. There's no way for me to know. I wasn't there. There was just, there was holes in the case that left for reasonable doubt. I think they could have checked some boxes or done some things differently. But do I know that they were corrupt? Absolutely not. I don't know that there was any corruption going on. But do I know that there wasn't enough proof or evidence?
So I think we are not hear from them.
Do you find it weird that the DA hasn't said anything at all about the case or the verdict? I mean, all he said was the jury has spoken, which you guys did, but nothing else.
I was surprised that they wanted the sentencing right away. I'm not
jury members from the Karen Reed trial.
I didn't have time to see what happened today through the day because I was out with my family. But I don't know, maybe they're just going to give up and reopen the investigation.
At the beginning of deliberations, did some people think she was guilty?
At the beginning of deliberation, I don't know. We decided not to vote, not to say what we really think, and instead go through witnesses and the videos and the paper, the clothes and everything. So I'm not sure what they thought. But when we got an agreement of what charges we would eliminate it one by one, and then we got to the verdict.
Was it hard to focus or, with the pressure of the big crowds outside every day chanting? Like, how much pressure was that for you guys?
I didn't see people outside until, I think Monday, because the way the bus brings us to the back of the courthouse, only if you look to your right and you see maybe some pink shirts or something, but I didn't know it was that big crowd like yesterday. And we couldn't hear anything. They cover the room.
See, here in a second, the other jury member completely says the opposite. He says we can totally see them, we can hear them when we're pulling in, like we can, and it put a lot of pressure on him, is what he says. Listen.
So we couldn't see through the window, and through the whole process, I didn't hear anything inside the courtroom. None of us did.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this wasn't that difficult for you guys to reach.
Cured by the police to convict Karen Reed? Absolutely not. There was not. I would say that's fair to say. I don't know how John O'Keefe died, and I do not believe that there was a collision between the SUV and John O'Keefe. Honestly, that made the pressure a lot harder, and it did not give me comfort. It made it a lot harder to block out everything and come to a decision. It made it harder because all of the eyes are on us. We were told we're the most important people in the courtroom, and they keep us away from the crowds of people in the front of the courthouse. But we do see them, and
You hear that?
Consensus here.
We do see them. We do know that they're there.
Was it difficult to reach this decision or not really?
Well, I can speak for myself. For me, it wasn't. For me, I had my opinion for him before we get in there. So some people might thought differently. So we had some discussions, of course, but I can't talk for other people.
But it doesn't sound like it was very heated. And were people fighting, or was it?
No, there wasn't fight. We are a respectful group of people. We got along very well, and we listened to each other's opinion. I can't say much what happened inside the deliberation room. The judge told us not to talk about it. But of course, there were discussions of our opinions and the proofs, and let's look into this, look into that, until we got to a consensus. But nothing heated, no.
Did you make much of her the videos that were played of her saying,
CJK?
well, maybe
Yes.
that clipped him, her almost admitting that, well, maybe something happened?
Yeah, that's where I take my theory from. Since she woke up thinking, oh, maybe I hit him. So this idea comes from somewhere in her mind, right? So maybe when she back up, she hit something, the curb or him or something. I don't.
She's like, maybe she hit him, maybe she hit a curb. Yeah, I don't know. She hit something, but they didn't prove that she hit him.
know, but definitely his injuries are not consistent with the tail light damage. We do
See, if it wasn't for the defense experts changing people's mind, remember, she came into this thinking, yeah, she's probably guilty of manslaughter. But now the defense brought in these experts were able to convince the jury members that it's possible that those injuries were not caused by the license plate, or excuse me, the tail light. When it's obvious that it could be, right? It's obvious. But when you're very convincing and you're able to manipulate and warp the perception of people, this is what you have. You have doubt. So great job to Karen Reed's attorneys.
not believe the taillight. The way that was presented in the Sally Port on that day, it's not the same way that we saw in the videos of the car coming out of the meadows in the morning. I don't think the car killed John O'Keefe, no.
What's
At
up,
what
Joe?
point in the trial did you start to think she was innocent?
I don't think that having all those people swayed me to go either way. We were only tasked with looking at the evidence. We were 12 jurors. We had to back up how we felt in this for our decision, and we couldn't let any outside.
Maybe like 3 weeks ago, after, when they had the police lab bringing DNA, they found a little trace of DNA here and there, but they also found 2 males' DNA here and there. So maybe there was more people involved on that.
So they found 2 other males' DNA when he was with all kinds of males. He was out in public. There should be DNA all over everybody. So now this is what the defense was able to convince her of. Like, look, we found 2 other males' DNA on him. So therefore, they could be involved in the crime. And she's literally parroting that.
So that's when I start
Common
shifting my
sense?
mind
No.
to completely not guilty of killing him at all. And the OUI was the only thing we can't deny, because she said on the video she was drinking, and there are videos of her drinking, counting of her drinking. So we couldn't let that pass.
Yeah, we'll get her with that shit.
Anything else, Paula? Like, what's your message, or what's the lesson that you learned in this process? Or
Well, my first time being a juror was an incredible experience. Really, I really enjoyed being there. It wasn't a burden at all. The deliberation part for me was a little overwhelmed because of the pressure of have someone's life in your hand. But the crowd outside or influence from outside, none of this came to me. So I was clear my mind, just focus on her and the case and the evidences we have. But for me, it was a great experience, and I'm happy that I feel good about what we did. I'm confident that she's innocent, and I really, really hope.
Wow. So that's pretty scary. I came in thinking that this was most likely a manslaughter, but then I started thinking, hey, the wounds don't match. The injuries don't match with being hit by a car. It's like, wow. Cryptex, if you can't prove it, don't blame the jurors. Well, I'll blame whoever I want, first and foremost. Another sad case where the descendants, family, and friends are left in grief. Yeah, and they're never going to find justice in this case. It's over. It's clear to me what happened. It is clear to me what happened. Commonwealth medical examiner ruled undetermined death not consistent with being hit by a car. Well, it's not consistent with being hit with a car. He wasn't killed by being hit by a car. He was just thrown to the ground by a car while being extremely intoxicated, and he hit his head. And then somebody just left him there to die. So it's not like he was walking down the street and a car hit him. That's why people are convinced he wasn't ran over by a car. He was simply thrown to the ground by one, and with enough pressure to break the taillight. Yeah, that's true, Cryptex. But it's all people's opinion, you know? So you have 12 people and you hope that their opinions align with yours. And then if they don't, it doesn't go your way. But it could, right? Yeah, this case is over. John will never have any justice. They won't reopen the investigation. There was no conspiracy. The cops did not kill John and then dump him in their own yard. If they would have killed him, they would have taken him and made sure that nobody found his body. These are law enforcement officers. They're not fucking idiots. It's the job of a defense team to create doubt. So they put all the pieces of a case out on a table, a large table in a war room. And they say, how can we piece all this information to create a narrative that the jury will buy that points away from our client? Okay, well, let's look at the wounds. The wounds kind of look like a dog bite. So then they start putting all the story together based on cherry picking. And they just pray that they do it in a way that affects the jury to lean towards their narrative. They use social media brilliantly. They mobilized a group of people who are susceptible to the manipulation of psychopaths. They put all those people into an echo chamber and they mobilized them. It was brilliant what they did. They successfully did in the Karen Reed trial everything that Richard Allen's defense team failed at. The people that Richard Allen's defense team tried to ally with in the social media realm were complete lunatics. What's up, Fishy? Is it worse to have an innocent person in jail or a guilty one free? Well, I think it's better to have 100 guilty men go free than to put one innocent man in prison. But when you let somebody go that's obviously guilty, it's a tough pill to swallow, at least for me. And remember, this is just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinions. I'm not going to fault you for your opinions. So don't fault me for mine. I don't think there is a such thing as justice. Not in the US system, there's not. There is no justice. Yeah, so that's a tough one. That is tough. So if you don't conduct a perfect investigation and the accused has a great defensive team, you're going to have an uphill battle. And they did their best in the Delphi case to exploit all the technicalities that they could, and they just didn't do that great of a job. But in Karen Reed's case, they poked all these holes. So kudos to them. And this case is over because, I mean, for me, I know what happened. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure I know what happened. Enough to convict? I don't know. Not my job. Sleuth, do you have to have all the votes not guilty for it not to be a hung jury? Yes. Absolutely. I think a hung jury would have been better than what happened. I think we needed another jury. Listening to them was pretty scary. They didn't blame Odinists. Well, apparently they weren't reading Lord of the Rings right before they took on this case. One ring to rule them all. All right, so let's keep it moving because of time. So how many of you are keeping up with the Suzanne Morphew case? And we are going live tonight, 6 p.m. my time, on Suzanne and Barry Morphew. Yeah, it will be. Absolutely, Melissa. If he doesn't take a plea deal. Many feel the same about Richard Allen needing another jury. I don't know anybody that thinks Richard Allen deserves another jury. I don't think anybody's thinking that. Are you thinking that, Fishy? Do you think he deserves another trial? Are you the many that you're referring to? Who's this many that you speak of? Yeah. So there's the confessions. There's the physical evidence that if it doesn't feed into your narrative or your confirmation bias, you'll call it junk science, right? Brandon, Richard Allen doesn't deserve another trial, and that case is over. Yep, it is over. Because all the people that law enforcement believe are involved, one, his foot is chopped off. The other is going to spend the rest of his life in prison, at least the next 40-something years. And Richard Allen he's gone. He'll probably be dead in the next 10 years. That case is over. Unless you guys out there can dig up something very exceptional that could break it wide open, that case is closed. Y'all know who the Mini are. Mini. Who's this Mini?
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I think the word you're looking for is few. Dark Side, what is up? Yep, I wouldn't hold my breath either. It's the only cards he has left to play. Probably wants to hold on to them. Most likely won't, Karen. It's just too bad we have a sinful society where evil people exist. It is true. And I feel like we're trying to find ways to see these types of people coming. You guys ever seen the movie Copycat with Sigourney Weaver? Her life's work was to try to see serial killers coming or sadistic killers. That's kind of what we do here on this channel, trying to educate ourselves on how to prevent these things, not deal with them. I don't know, Fishy. I mean, what else would it be? They closed the case. I feel like they did their best. And unless they have new information, there's nothing else they can do. Yeah, they have their own ideas. Don't worry. They don't need mine. Fishy's, are you into that doom and gloom? Well, we'll never find out, Karen. We'll never know unless somebody digs up some dirty dirt. Yeah, don't worry. If you're a Richard Allen supporter, he'll be out in 130 years. So don't worry. They didn't give him life in prison, just 130 years. Never know. There could be some medical technologies that come out. He might be good. It's funny because I thought the misspelling was the correct spelling. That's how bad I spell. So when you misspell, I can actually read it. Like, oh. The Suzanne Morphew case is a complex and ongoing homicide investigation centered on the disappearance and death of Suzanne Morphew, a 49-year-old mother of two from Chaffee County, Colorado. Below, let's see. Suzanne Morphew, born April 30th, 1971, in Alexandria, Indiana. Married to Barry Morphew in 1994, with whom she'd had two daughters, Mallory and Macy. Lived in Salida, Colorado. After moving from Indiana in 2018 to be closer to their daughter, Mallory, who was attending college nearby. Suzanne worked as a school teacher in Indiana before becoming a homemaker, survived cancer twice, and was an avid mountain biker. Suzanne and Barry met in high school in Alexandria, Indiana. Barry was a star baseball player drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays and later started a landscaping business. In 2020, their 25-year marriage was strained. Suzanne had expressed dissatisfaction, confiding in friends about Barry's controlling behavior and her desire for a divorce. She was also having an affair with Jeff Leibler, a high school friend with whom she communicated frequently. This is when they found her bike. Body cam.
Maybe see if you can get that up to the road and then check the serial number or call the husband and see what kind of bike she has.
So they reached out to Barry and they said, hey, Suzanne's missing. He said, well, go ahead, go inside and check the house and keep a lookout for her bike. You know, right? Controlling the narrative. Here, go this way. You got to find her bike. Right? Clues that he's planted himself.
Salida chip, buddy. Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has? Right now I'm staring at a Santa Cruz blue in color.
Not sure why the cop is just touching the bike and moving it and doing all this shit to it. No gloves. Crazy. So yeah, we're going to talk about that case tonight. So Suzanne was reported missing on May 10th, 2020 on Mother's Day after she reportedly went for a bike ride near her home in Maysville. Her bike and helmet were found in separate locations near their $1.75 million home with no significant damage, suggesting the bike was not involved in a crash. Barry told authorities he was in Broomfield, Colorado, 160 miles away, for a landscaping job on the morning of May 10th. Their daughters were away on a camping trip. The last known activity from Suzanne was a selfie taken at 2:07 p.m. on May 9th at 2020 while sunbathing, and a message sent to Jeff Leibler at 2:11 p.m. Her phone went silent thereafter. Right? You cheating on me? A tranquilizer dart cap was found in the Morphew's dryer, and a dart gun, empty darts, and a needle were found in Barry's gun safe. Barry admitted to using a tranquilizer mix, BAM, in Indiana for deer farming and as recently as April 2020 in Colorado to tranquilize a deer. The autopsy later revealed these same chemicals in Suzanne's remains, marketed as a wildlife immobilizer. On September 22nd, 2023, Suzanne's remains were found in a shallow grave near Moffett, about 45 to 50 miles south of her home, during an unrelated search. The remains included bones, clothes, crested butte sweatshirt, Nike tank top, Yeti shorts, a ski mask, a weathered bullet, and a purple medical port from her chemotherapy. A ski mask, a weathered bullet. That's weird. The lack of bug activity, animal predation, or significant decomposition in the clothing suggested the body was moved to the location post-mortem. Barry Morphew's first arrest, May 5th, charged with first-degree murder, tampering with physical evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. Barry was released on $500,000 cash bond September 2021 and maintained his innocence. Case was dismissed without prejudice by Judge Ramsey Lama 9 days before the trial due to prosecutorial misconduct. Yuck. Barry filed a $15 million lawsuit against Chaffee County in the 11th Judicial District, alleging wrongful prosecution and constitutional rights violation. Lawsuit was dismissed. Breaking news on the case: on June 18th, just a few days ago, a 12th Judicial District grand jury indicted Barry Morphew for the first-degree murder. He was arrested in Gilbert, Arizona on June 20th, 2025, and is awaiting extradition to Colorado's San Luis Valley. The indictment emphasized Barry's exclusive access to BAM in the region, as confirmed by prescription records, cell phone and vehicle telematics data contradicting Barry's account, including outages at key times, evidence suggesting Suzanne's body was moved. Barry is held on $3 million bond. Damn. Yeah, he must have been pissed. So, according to Suzanne, she was telling all her friends, like, I can't take it. I got to get out of this relationship. He's becoming overbearing and controlling. I'm no longer like my own person. So she starts reaching out to somebody that she's been in contact with. Probably, if she married her high school sweetheart, Barry, there might have been another guy, right? The guy that she should have picked, or a guy that she dated. Somebody, when you're in a relationship for that long, you're not just going to go jump on some dating site, right? You're going to reach out and you're going to take interest to people that you're comfortable with. You're going to kind of slowly make your way back into the dating realm. So I think that's what she was doing. He caught her and went ballistic. So maybe he tried to surprise her, showed up, and heard her talking or seen her text messages or something, found out that she was cheating, and he put the plan together. Make it look like she was attacked by animals. So if you guys are interested in this case, we're going to do a deep dive later tonight, if the timing is, permits me to. But that's it. We're pretty much going to wrap it up now. If you have anything to add, please do so now. Barry will have a fan club. Absolutely. Remember when they arrested him the first time, he had a fan club forming, especially because both of his daughters were supporting him openly and publicly. Thank you, Sensei. Remember, guys, if you can't hit the Cash App, hit the thumbs up. It's right there. And go share these live streams if you can. Peace out, Brandon. It was good to see you. Brandon, Mustang, Fishy, Cryptech, Sensei, Red Queen. What's up, Red? Karen Hick, Melissa Wildcard, Dark Side, and everybody else. I'll catch you on the next one. Later, Mustang. All right, guys. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Peace.